Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here. I am here just as an introduce person. I get to introduce these beautiful women who are going to tell you some stories about BISI and how it is showing up in their lives as they have moved forward over the course of now they've been part of BISI for 2.5 years or more. So they're going to share some stories with you, some examples of how BISI has been and shown up as part of their lives, and as examples of maybe what will show up for you or how you can craft your future with this material that we've been working on for the last 15 weeks. So thank you very much for being here. Thanks for giving them your attention. And I am welcoming them wholeheartedly. So thank you very much. Yay.
Hey everyone, my name is Abby and I'm one of the current learning coordinators. So, similar to everyone that's going to be sharing today, I'm going to talk about the impact that BISI had on my life. So, before I begin, I wanted to point out the fact that every single one of us in this room has gone through our own unique story that has led us to all be here in this current moment. So, while I continue to tell you about how I ended up here, I encourage you to think about everything in your life that led you to this moment and the decisions that led you to be a part of this community. I became a student of BISI back in August of 2023. I had just started my sophomore year and was struggling to find my identity and who I wanted to be by the time I graduate. Prior to BISI, during my freshman year, I never pushed myself out of my comfort zone. I did the same three things every day: go to class, go to the gym, and do homework. I kept a small circle of friends and never did anything to make a name for myself. Flash forward to my very first BISI lecture, I walked into Thomas 100 and found a seat in the middle of all the unknown students around me. Classes this size can be somewhat intimidating to most people, but for me, I found it to be really comforting. As an introverted person, bigger crowds mean it is easier for me to blend in with everyone else and decrease the likelihood of standing out. That was a familiar feeling to me, disappearing amongst the sea of faces and being just another student in a 400-person lecture. However, I quickly learned that BISI wasn't the average class, and I would most likely be faced with the challenge of having to step outside of my comfort zone. I've always been a pretty shy and soft spoken person, which has increasingly become an insecurity of mine over the years. I was one of the quietest students in my lab and found it nearly impossible to contribute my voice to the class. I have been struggling with the feeling of being silenced for most of my life, but especially during this time period. During my time as a student in this class, I was in an unhealthy relationship that made me feel voiceless and taught me to not speak up at all. To no surprise, silencing myself to this degree led to a lot of self isolation, bottled up feelings, and feelings of unworthiness. I remember reading Indigo's letter at the start of the semester as a student, and the line that immediately stuck out to me said, "In this class, you become your own focus of study." For the first time in my life, I felt like I was a part of a space that made me feel safe when speaking up. Even though I only felt comfortable enough to do that in my written journal entries, it was still a step in the right direction. Throughout the course of the semester, I eventually felt strong enough to share the words that I'd never said out loud before to my TA. She pushed me to share my opinions and beliefs in our classroom and built my confidence to a level that I had never experienced before. At the end of the semester, she approached me and told me that she thought I had it in me to become a TA. Immediately, I felt feelings of self doubt and thought there was no way that I could lead a group of students and contribute my voice to this class even further. But I realized that I was letting my anxiety win and hold me back from something that I knew I would love. So I took a leap of faith and started my training semester as a TA. And I can confidently say that it was the best decision I have ever made for myself at Penn State. Through things like finding my voice amongst a room full of other TAs, learning how to lead and facilitate a lesson plan and lab discussions, and projects like walking on water, this class has made me become comfortable with the uncomfortable. Wrapping up this semester as a TA was bittersweet. My students gave me the most amazing and fulfilling experience I could have ever asked for. They equally taught me just as much as I taught them and allowed me to prove to myself that my voice is just as important as everyone else's. Now, after 5 semesters of being involved in this class, I'm finishing up my journey as a learning coordinator. I spent the last 2 semesters working alongside all of your wonderful TAs and getting to grow with them. I'm so proud of all the work that we have done together and feel complete with what I've contributed to this class. This is now my 3rd semester sitting through these lectures and listening to Jen, and each time I listen to her lectures, I hear something new. Even though I will no longer be actively involved, BiSci still lives within me and has changed my entire outlook on life. The main takeaway that I have gotten from this class is to become comfortable with the uncomfortable and push yourself to do things that your past self wouldn't have been able to do. So I'm curious to know all of the different ways that BiSci has pushed you all to do something you've never done before. So I encourage you to turn and talk to your neighbor and answer this question. Okay, we'll pass out the microphones, and I'm curious to hear from you all. So if anyone would like to share.
Before taking this course, like even throughout my childhood, my parents would always buy me those little like journals to write in, just like, I don't know, try to get me to do that growing up, and I never really got into that. And then this course, like I had to journal. Like that is the work for this course. And honestly, like I've really gotten into it through this course, and I really like it. And I think it's something that I'm gonna like keep up when I need to, but I've grown to really like doing that. So, yeah.
Okay. I would say that this class has pushed me to talk to people my age about deeper conversations that I normally wouldn't have. Like before this class, I was always kind of nervous to talk about anything deep. I was like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to get deep or whatever," and I would apologize for it. But after discussing it with like people in my lab that are around my age, it's like made me more comfortable to do that. This was like the fourth week of school. My roommate was pissing me off, and I was gonna fake one of the like going out and actually doing it components, but because she was making me so mad, it was 10:30 and I went to the arboretum for the first time and I just like laid in the grass and then did the assignments because the whole point was to like go out in the woods or go out where there's no light, like man-made light and stuff like that. And so it was pitch black and I was just laying in the arboretum. So that's what I did.
Yeah, thank you guys for sharing all of that. I think it's just so beautiful that there's a class that can push you to do these things that you wouldn't normally do, and that we all have each other to do that with. Giving a speech in front of this many people is not something that I would have voluntarily done 2 years ago, but BISI has taught me to step out of my comfort zone and because the outcome is worth any anxiety that I might have. So as you continue on with your day, I challenge you to do something outside of your comfort zone and become your own focus of study. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Molly. I'm another one of our learning coordinators. And if you don't know what a learning coordinator is, that would be us, and then Sophia also in the back, and Brahman in the back, and Brendan also, and Petra. But we were once students, and we were also once TAs. So we all started as students in BISI. We're inspired by our TAs to take the TA training course, become a TA, go through the TA training, and then train to be learning coordinators as well, which is kind of like a TA for the TA sort of situation. I just wanted you to know kind of what that is. I'm gonna get up and walk around because I like doing that. Before we even start, I want to ask you to do something. I want you to write down one or two scary questions. Now, you might be thinking, what is a scary question? This can be any question that you might be avoiding asking yourself, or any question that might make you feel a little nervous or feel any kind of sense of fear. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, we'll get into that later. But I want to tell you a little bit about my bi-size story. So I'm a fourth year now, um, and I took bi-sci when I was a freshman, my second semester. So it was spring of my freshman year. And I was a criminology major at the time, in liberal arts. And I loved being outside. I loved hiking and camping and all the things that, we love to do. And my advisor suggested that I take bi-sci. She didn't really know what it was. I didn't really know what it was. I don't think any of us really knew what it was. But I came in blindly, just as everybody else did. And so as you all know, BSci is not your regular environmental science course, because like Abby said, you are the focus of your own study, and I was the focus of my own study in my second semester freshman year. How many of you are freshmen? Yeah, it's like this crazy changing time in your life, and then you're thinking about all these things about yourself. It's a lot. And so when I was a freshman, I was also in a long distance relationship with my boyfriend at the time. Shout out to anyone in long distance. It's hard. But we started dating in high school, and he was my very first boyfriend, which anyone who's had a first relationship knows that it's really important and a canon event, as we say. Um, and we were really great for each other at first, but as I was here and he was there, we grew apart and our love became attachment. So this is a very personal story to be sharing with a bunch of people that I don't know. But the point is that it really influenced my bi-sci experience. And so anyone who's been in any kind of toxic relationship knows that it can be terribly blinding. I knew it wasn't healthy, but I was avoiding facing that fact at all costs. Bi-sci was not a place I could escape. This class encouraged me to question everything, and to reach into vulnerable places that made me confront emotions that I didn't want to feel. I was miserable coming to class because of how raw this class made me feel, and it made me feel all these emotions that I was avoiding. Now, BiSci is truly an agenda-less class. There's nothing in the course content that forces you to sway one way or another, but it simply puts all the information out there and encourages you all to think about the way you might feel about it. This means that when entering a class in the spring semester of my sophomore year, and there was a question on the board that said, "Are you happy?" BiSci wasn't hurting me, and not even the question could hurt me. It was the answer that was so terrifying. I knew I wasn't happy, but with everything that admitting that would unpack, and facing the question made me so uncomfortable. Now that I know this uncomfortable feeling, it's exactly why I have to lean into being uncomfortable. I want you to all look back down at the questions that you wrote for yourself and turn and talk to your neighbor and ask yourself about whether it's the question that scares you or the answer that scares you. Oh my gosh, that was easy. I was gonna say, oh, we can go, but then everyone stopped talking. So if anyone wants to share, please share. Oh, wait. Okay, go.
So my questions were, am I doing everything right with my life and what path should I be taking? And for me, I think the scariest part would probably be the question itself because I just kind of really, really want an answer to that. And the question is just so like vague and could have so many like answers. Like, I don't really know what the right, like we were just talking, I don't really know what the right path is or like, am I doing everything right? Like, what does that mean? I really want to be on a good track and I don't really know. So I guess it's just the question that's scaring me the most.
Wait,
Sure.
okay, can we workshop this? So you
Sure.
said that your answer is that you don't know. Is that scary for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is that scary?
Um uh I guess that's scary for me because like I feel like there's like a pressure, especially when you're in college, that you like need to know what you're doing like all the time. Um, and like you need like I'm like 18 years old, and I feel like I I need to decide what I want to do for like the rest of my life. And for some people that comes like easier, but for me, I'm really not that sure. Like, yeah. So I guess
Thank you so much for sharing. Don't worry. Don't worry, we're getting there. Um, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anyone else who wants to share their scary question slash answer? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you so much for sharing. So by leaning into the uncomfortable feeling with these scary questions and these scary answers, my gut uncovered that I know what I needed. And so I ended up breaking up with my boyfriend at the time. That's not the important part of the story, but the important part is that I was avoiding that and I was avoiding feeling that. And by doing that, I ended up hurting myself. And I sometimes feel like I lost a lot of my freshman year to being so clouded by those feelings. And so BiSci taught me that emotional processing is something that I really need to be constantly doing to maintain a relationship with myself. So keep going. At the beginning of my sophomore year, which is when Abby took freshman year, Abby and Brahman and I are roommates, and I took a break from BiSci. I did lots of other things. That's not important, but I was encouraged to reapply to be a TA at the time. And so I decided to take the TA training course because I wanted to continue this journey with my roommates and some of my other friends that I had already made. And so training as a TA is it's a lot like the course, but it's learning how to facilitate the course and how to be the person who asks the questions. And so as a training TA, I had another span of really uncomfortable feelings. So at this point, I was a declared criminology major, and I liked it. My parents are lawyers. I grew up thinking that way. It was something that I was really interested in, but it didn't make me feel alive, and it didn't make me feel passionate about living every day. So I recognized these feelings, and I knew that I needed a change. I spent my whole spring confused and scared because I knew what I needed to do, but I was scared to do it. So I was super musical in high school. I was in all the bands and all the choirs and all the stuff. And I came here and I thought that I wanted to switch it up. And I wanted to involve myself in things that I knew I was also good at. And so I decided to go through with criminology. But the whole time I was in one of our choirs here, the Penn State Concert Choir, shout out. And I loved it. And I loved going to class and I loved being there. And I found myself wanting to be musical all the time. I wanted to play guitar, I wanted to play piano, and I was avoiding the other classes that I was taking because I just wanted to do it so much. And so I knew that that was something that I wanted to study and something that I wanted to devote my life to, but I was terrified of changing that because, like, come on, like, being a professional musician is not only ridiculously hard, but it's also ridiculously no money. And so it was just a really hard change for me to make. And so we have this project at the end of our training semester called Walking on Water. And this project encourages you to do something that you never thought that you were going to do. And it encourages you to just take a step into the deep end and walk on water. And so what I did was I applied to our School of Music and I auditioned and I picked out 3 Italian arias and I sang them and then I auditioned for the school and I got in. And this completely changed my life. I am now a full-time musician and a full-time vocal performance major, and I'm applying to grad school for a master's in choral conducting, which is not something that I would have believed if you told me in my freshman year. Coming to the realization that I knew that I needed the change involved a concept that we've learned about called truth speaking. Truth speaking can be incredibly uncomfortable because it often uncovers feelings that I knew I was feeling with easier emotions. So for example, oftentimes I find myself angry because angry is a lot easier to feel than sad for me. And so it takes a lot of emotional processing for me to realize that the real emotion I'm feeling is sad and not angry. And so truth speaking is also hard because it forces us to drop or it forces me, I want to use I language here. It forces me to drop my pride and own the emotions that I'm feeling and take responsibility for the actions that I take. How many of you have been in a band or a choir? Yeah, I know some of you played the saxophone, raise your hands, or the trombone in high school and stuff like that. So I'm now aspiring to be a choral conductor. And so that is scary because I will spend a lot of my days in front of a big group of people with them expecting me to know how to not only teach them the music, but to make it beautiful. And that requires a lot of me processing how I can do that in a way that they're going to understand, in a way that's clear and easy for them to follow. And so there's this idea in conducting that we talk about where if the ensemble is not doing what I want them to do, the problem is most likely to be me. If they're not singing the way that I want them to sing, it's because I'm not showing them or I'm not explaining to them in a way that they can understand. And so that requires me to change my pedagogy and the way that I'm teaching it. So as a conductor, truth speaking can reveal that the problems within an ensemble can lie within the director, which just kind of stinks to hear. But it's selfish if I don't admit it to myself, and if it's selfish if I don't change what I might be doing for the good of the group. And so throughout my time in BISI, I've been faced with many uncomfortable feelings. But through BISI, I've learned how to truth speak with myself, truth speak with the people around me, and be curious about the unknown and what it can bring to me. This can reveal what the uncomfortability I might be feeling. Wait, uncomfortableness. Didn't we just talk about this? What the uncomfort I'm feeling can really mean and what emotions it might be covering up. So I'm going to ask you to turn and talk to your neighbor and discuss a time when you truth spoke and it revealed something that you didn't know you felt. That was awesome. Okay. Does anybody have something that they would like to share about a time when they truth spoke and it revealed something that they didn't know they felt? Running.
A few weeks ago, I told probably one of my closest friends ever, I've known him since first grade, that I was gay, and he low-key cut me off. But hey, I am who I am, so I'm not really phased by it, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but moving forward.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I'm glad that that experience could reveal to you feelings in your life. Anybody else have something they'd like to share about that? Yay!
Okay. So whenever I was trying to like decide where to go to college, I was in between Kent State and here, and I went to visit like twice. And when I got there, like I really liked their program, like one of their programs, like their majors, and I just like wanted to convince myself so badly that I liked it more than here. And I actually like went with my now roommate because we went to the same high school. And once we were done, like going there, like once I was done going there for like the second time, I was like, I don't think I really want to go here. Like I just didn't get that feeling. And I think talking about it like out loud really like helped me decide that. And now I love it here and I like don't regret my decision at all. So yeah.
I really love how you use the word convince yourself. How many of you have felt the feeling where you know what the answer is, but you try and convince yourself of the other thing? Yeah. And you can like feel it in your gut too. Like when they say gut feelings, like that's real. But thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. And so, truth speaking to each other and to ourselves can reveal all these different paths that might be available for us. Like you were saying, how you're not sure what you want to do with your career, but realizing what is difficult about the unknown and what scares you and taking control of the unknown can help you feel more in control of your own life. And so I constantly find myself in uncomfortable situations. And I often say that I love making a fool of myself because often if I feel foolish, the less foolish actually feels. And so if I stand up here and I trip on a rock and stuff, it's going to make walking into my next class so much easier because that was hard. And so being uncomfortable is what happens to me when I'm not in control. And so when I own my emotions and my feelings and the things that I've done, I feel at peace and in control. I hope that BiSci can show you that owning your comfort and being honest with yourself through truth speaking, you can reveal who you are to yourself. And I hope that you all continue to use BiSci and be BiSci because BiSci is life. And yeah, so thank you for being here.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Paige, and I am, again, one of the learning coordinators here. I've seen a couple of your guys' faces at the extra credit movie nights. So that's where I've been. I don't usually come to lecture, so it's nice to sit here and see all of you today. So I am going to continue the conversation that we've been having about being uncomfortable and being okay with being uncomfortable and just being okay in general. So in this little thing up here, I included some pictures of me out in nature and some photos that I've taken. And while putting this all together, I was sitting there and realizing all the different places that I was in my life during these photos. Some of these photos date back 5 years ago, 4 years ago, some current, some that were taken just this summer. And on the topic of that, I was thinking about how much I've changed as a person. And being a senior now, all of these revelations are coming to me. And I'm realizing that my time here as a student is ending. And change is something that can be extremely scary. I know I used to be really uncomfortable with change. And I know some other people out here are uncomfortable with change. Actually, could any of you like raise your hands if you've ever had like a big change that has scared you? A lot of hands up. We go through change
all the time, and it's scary, but being okay with that and welcoming change in can be truly transformative for you and helping you become your most authentic self. So, I want to ask you all, could you turn and talk to your partners? And the question is, what is one significant change you've experienced recently, and how are you currently working through that? You could turn and talk. Okay. And if I could just have a couple of people who would be willing to share. I know there's a microphone in the back, but I can also come up. I will come to you.
So I'm a junior, so I've been at school for a bit, and my big change that I've been going through recently is that I'm like fully moved out of my mom's house. And it's weird because every summer, every break, I go back and I like dump all my things and I set up my room just a little bit, just enough so I can move back into school. But now this summer, I'm staying in state college, hopefully working here for an internship, and it's just kind of weird not to go back. So I'm like working through it by like establishing connections and things to do here at State College that bring me comfort away from what was my home. So
That's really nice. Thank you for sharing.
I'm a freshman, and I guess like the most obvious answer for me is just like coming to college. Like high school was really not my thing, and I was always like, "Oh, I'm going to go to college, and college is going to be my thing. I'm going to meet my people in college." And I've met my people, but it's taken a second, and it's been with people who I didn't expect were going to be my people. And so like honestly, I'm just like taking it one day at a time, one week at a time, and just like figuring it out, you know? Like there's going to be bad days, there's going to be good days, and like it's okay. It's all going to work out.
I like what you brought up, like expecting the unexpected. It's so cheesy, very, but it does. It does work and it does apply. Does anybody else want to share? Oh, if I can see. If someone raised their hand. Oh, wow, that's so embarrassing. Might be blind too.
This ain't like nothing crazy, but it was my brother going to the military. That was a significant change because like he's a year older than me, and so that just made us really close. We're basically best friends, and like he's always a call away. Like all of my problems, like he's right there. But now that he's away, like it's just kind of not the same. And like not that of course like I need him for guidance, but like I do like to have his input on a lot of things. So it's like real different now, just like because I don't talk to like my parents like that. So it's kind of real different just now because it's like really just like now like there's not really that one person who I'm going to. Like now it's kind of just me trying to figure like my own shit, my own stuff out uh through myself, excuse my language.
I like how you kind of truth spoke in your statement and you talked about your brother going off to the military and how, you're not necessarily upset that he's going away to the military. It's that you feel like you're losing out on your time with your brother and like that one-on-one time that you guys always had. So Okay, so feeding off of the theme of having a lot of photos from a lot of different years, these are all the people that I've met here at my time in Penn State, and also just some of my best friends back at home. Being here, there is so many people you will come across, so much change around you. And I'll take it back to when I first came into BiSci. I was supposed to start my journey of BiSci the spring semester of my freshman year. Freshman year was an awful time for me, to say the least. I had a roommate who wanted nothing to do with me and convinced everyone on our floor that I was the worst person in the world and that I didn't matter and I was insignificant. We had issues with each other. They were one-on-one stuff, and I didn't know that she was taking it to other people. So when I would walk out, people would say hurtful things to me. They would look at me weird, and I felt like I couldn't leave my room without judgment. So I stayed there. When it came time to scheduling, I scheduled 4 classes for myself, and then my advisor said, "Well, you need a natural sciences credit. I heard BiSci is a really good one to take." Okay, I picked it up. But after picking it up, something in me just felt like I wasn't ready for all of that, and I wanted to take a step back that semester. So before ever coming to lecture, I dropped the class. The following semester rolls around, it's sophomore year. I'm excited, I'm ready, I'm living with somebody new. I've made friends again, and I'm in a new environment, and I was ready to embrace that environment. And I rescheduled for BiSci. Coming into lecture that first day, I was really taken aback when Jen spoke, and seeing the atmosphere and seeing how excited the TAs and the LCs were to come and introduce themselves up here to everyone. It was a welcoming environment, though it was weird at first. I will admit. I liked that it was different. It was a different structure than any other class that I've ever been into. Going forward with all the labs and writing those journals, I found a lot of comfort in it because I come from a household where speaking your truth and sharing your feelings is not something that's necessarily welcomed. So I've always been the type of person to bottle things up and to never talk about it. I never got into journaling, and I would always rely on my friends to hear me out. So being able to have a place where I can write all of my feelings down and just write about everything that's up here, it was like just opening up that bottle and just letting it flow out. And knowing that it would only go to one person who would read it, being my TA. It was also really nice to see. She had come up to me multiple times and said, "I'm so grateful that you're sharing things with me, and if you feel comfortable, I would love for you either to speak up during lecture one time or speak up a little more during labs. I would love to see that from you." And I was on the fence about it. I spoke in lecture once. That was so terrifying, being in Thomas 100 and having, 700 people turn their heads to see where the microphone was going. That was terrible. Sitting in front of here, like right now, is also scary, looking at all of you. But I'm here, and I did it. Going into my training TA semester, I was definitely optimistic because I thought my experience in BiSci was so wonderful and very healing for me that I wanted to continue that. But my doubts and insecurities also hit me. And did I really have what it took to lead a group of people and to help them have a transformative experience like mine? And that got me thinking more as to everyone's journey. No one's journey is linear. I was thinking too much about how I wanted every one of my students to have this great experience similar to mine. And that similar to mine portion is really what I needed to evaluate. Because while reading those journals, Everyone is going through something. We never know what everyone is going through. And the way they work through things is up to them ultimately. And I realized that for me, I'm just going to be a guide or a light in the dark, if you will. And I would support everyone on their journey going forward. And that's really a part of myself that I had lost sight of, and how much like I can be that support system for people. And it's something that I love to do. And that kind of, helped me solidify what I wanted to do in my future, which is counseling. And I'm a psych major. So just being around people and helping them be that light is just really what did it for me, and it made my experience really special. So I wanted to continue that as a learning coordinator. And being an LC has been wonderful. I've worked with all of your TAs, and I've watched them grow and become the person that they are right now. I've seen all the lesson plans and stuff. I hear about all the things that you guys do in labs, and it's really nice to see and hear about, and seeing how this experience is being transformative for all of you. I just wanted to reiterate again, change is everywhere around us. Experience it, don't shy away from it, revel in it actually, because your journey is just beginning. You are going to change so much in your lives, and you're going to become a different person every single day. You will never be the same person that you were yesterday. And I know that's really scary and like really thought-provoking of like, oh, how could I possibly change in a singular day? But that's all, it's all a part of life, and it's all about becoming the steps leading towards who you are as a person and your most authentic self. Because even though I've changed a lot, I'm still not my most authentic self. I'm still learning every day, and so are you. So I would, yeah.
I have to run up north. Go watch those. Yeah. So that was so fun. And then I sat back down and I was like, I, I somehow was like, no. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can write it down. Hey, good to see you. I can write it down for you. So it is one semester. Okay. Yeah. So it's 3 hours. But if you're doing like got it. Okay. Yeah, it is. So it's very fun. Sorry, just to. Okay. Do I have to, when would I like sign? Yeah. Because I'm interested in TA. So. Yeah. It's not at first, and then no, okay. Yeah. So I got yeah. Because I had a great time in the class. I loved my life. Oregon was so cool. Too. Oregon's best.